All right, Shalom Rastafari. So let's move forward just to check this out because it's when you use this help meet, it's very specific in the Amharic where it says right here, Yemi Metchawin, that which is convenient, a redat, a convenient disciple or a convenient help meet, right? A convenient helpmate. But the key thing I want to focus on is the fact that when Haywan, right, according to Moses's first book, Muse's first book, and see, here's what the context of Egyptology is crucial. But if one doesn't have a good even groundation with the Hebraics, then one is not rightly dividing or explaining the word of truth. And this is where we have this divide and conquer, in a sense, with those who love, say, the Bible, and everything in the Bible is true, but everything in Egypt is false, or those who believe everything in ancient Egypt, based on the Eurocentric Egyptology, is right, and everything in the Bible is false. You see, the only winner is that old-time serpent. You see, that old-time serpent, Diablos, Shaitan, you understand, and the children of Ayin, right, of disobedience, they gain the ascendancy, and you can look around and see this whole world system. You understand? You can see this whole world, this earth. We can see if we have eyes to see. If our eyes truly have to now be open to the truth, which we find in this parabolic story here. Some look at the Bible as literal history. Others view it just as literal mythology. The truth is that it is both. This is the half of the story that folks don't know, is that it's both. In fact, we can even show you from ancient Egypt where you have the so-called walking serpent, where they show you a snake with feet walking. So if Moses is said to be learned in all the wisdom of the Egyptians, it would be no doubt that the context of what we have in Torah, when properly understood, is understood from a Egyptian, or going to the root, a Ethiopic perspective. And this is now continuing where we had left off, because what we did was touch on the Methav Kedus, from the prophets, from the Timbite, Sophonius, and just went over chapter 3 and verse 9 and 10, where it says that he will turn to the people a pure language. We are saying that we are those people, those Ethiopian Hebrews at home and abroad, and we as the elect Rastafari, right, that true holy priesthood after the order of Melchizedek. So it's important for us to get a groundation on what occurred in the beginning, right? Because how can we know what's happening in these latter days of the Gentile, these end days of the Gentile world dominion? This will means come out of her, my people. Come out of that counterfeit, that false interpretation of the Bible that we have been led to believe that doesn't even match what the scriptures actually say, right? What the scriptures actually say. So the scriptures can explain the scriptures, and then the context of it, of course, we have the ardent facts. Why do you think so much has been discovered even from ancient Egypt, the Almighty? These things were buried for thousands of years, right? He says, Egypt is my people. This is according to Torah. This is according to the scripture. So, Mecca and I move forward here, and now we're going to touch on the helpmeet. The helpmeet is a convenient disciple, an appropriate, Yemi Metchawin Redat. When we say in one of the Psalms that's often chanted, we say, may the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be humbly acceptable in thy sight, my strength and my redeemer. Well, according to them heart, the redeemer part is my help, but the key part is the help part, right? The help part is not to be understood in the Western Gentile, where some think that the only role of the woman is to be a kind of a it's really a distortion of the true character type. In fact, the truth of the matter is that Eve, Hawan, was supposed to be Adam's disciple. And we can now tell as we get into the Genet to Eden story, right, of Adam and Eve, that he did not disciple very well because she was not told not to eat of this tree. She was not. She only knew that, obviously, because of what he, Adam, had told her. And now, if we would really scrutinize this chapter coming up, chapter 3, we're in chapter 2 still. What we're seeking to do is get a better context of it, and then we can get into certain details of it. But some things in the overall story have been twisted so far out of context that many of us think we know what went on, but we really don't know what went on, even from a simple perusal of the scripture and some questions and answers, some basic questions and answers. When we say that Adam was created first, right, and he was not in transgression, as in the New Testament, he was not in transgression. In what sense was he not in transgression? It was his transgression. You see what I'm saying? He was not deceived. But see, they make you believe that, well, Adam didn't do nothing wrong in this. And see, this is very important for us, especially as so-called black men, to really understand this, that Eve, Hawan, was his disciple. Eve was to be Adam's disciple, and he obviously did not disciple her very well, right? He looked around at all the animals, and he can learn from, or he can teach them, but also learn from their innate natures. But he recognized that this is, as every animal he saw had its partner. He recognized that he did not have a partner. Right? But the key is that it was a partner. She was to be a partner, but also she was supposed to be schooled because Adam was first formed. Like if I've been on the block longer than my sister, and I'm supposed to let her know what's going on the block. Now, if she is misquoting how does she know it? She knows it because I must have told her. So see, this is part of that hidden in plain sight. It's not really hidden, not from plain sight, that we're not really picking up as we go forward. So let's first of all speak on the method of creation of the woman. Now, some make an emphasis that woman is different than male and female, right? Zakar wa nekebal, right? Others basically say, well, it's ish and isha. This is a terminology that Adam uses in the Hebrew. But let's go through this right here, verse 21. And Yahweh Elohim, he caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam. So this right here kind of makes it very much more clear. Let's zoom in a little bit more, right? So we can, this is the part, right? This is the part that we are speaking of right here, right? So a deep sleep, right? A deep sleep. This is also very interesting right there, but let's return to this. That a deep sleep was caused, right? A deep sleep was caused upon Adam, right? A deep sleep, right? A deep sleep. And he took Yahweh Elohim, or the pre-incarnate Emmanuel, Yeshua, he took one of his ribs, the word, right, the logos, right, the pre-incarnate logos, took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh instead thereof. Now we can get into the rib and the DNA. These are things that was understood by the ancients, had been lost for a long time, and have been rediscovered in these latter days and time of the Gentile world dominion, or the world system, the seclorum system. Verse 22, it says, and the rib, we could say the genetics, the DNA, because when you look at the DNA, it resembles the rib. If you see the X and the Y in the male DNA, if you take a rib, that's an X. But some would say that actually the Y is a deformed X based on them reverse engineering it. But we're going to prove that that might not be as so well concluded as they make you believe. Now, the rib which Yahweh Elohim had taken from the man, made he a woman and brought her, right, and brought her to the man. Now there's something in the Hebrew I want to look at right here in these verses 20 and 21, right? So let's go to 20 and 21, right? Let's go to verse 20 and 21. And let's look at what the Hebrew has right here. But for Adam, there was not found a helpmeet. That's 20. So here we go to 21. And he caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, right? And he took one of his ribs. The rib in the Hebrew is the selah, right? Or the selah, the selah, the selah, the selah. And it says even right here, it says a rib as curved literally of the body, figuratively of a door, a leaf, a side literally of a person. It can also be, what's interesting is that the rib here, if you see this part in the Hebrew as we expand on the H67, 63, it says an object or the sky, or a quarter of the sky, which is very interesting. A quarter of the sky. When we look at ancient Egypt, where Moses was learned in this, architecturally, it's an especially floor or ceiling, timber or plank, single, collective, or a flooring. But the connection with the sky, I think, is very interesting, because you have to see our video where we say that Adam is a form of Geb, right, from ancient Egypt, and therefore Hawan or Eve is a form of Nut, right? She's a form of Nut, and even within the rib, as we study it Hebraically, we get some very, very important clues right there. So now here it says was brought to Adam, right? Was brought to Adam, right? And the woman, it says right here, is Isha, Isha. So now we have Isha being used first time, right? And Isha is said to be an irregular plural. This is what's interesting. Isha, though ones will tell you is singular, it can also be used in ancient Hebraic for the irregular plural. Are you following me on this? So we say a singular woman, but within this woman there is a plurality, right? It says it right here, irregular plural, or nashim, noshim, right? A woman, right? A woman in that basic sense, right? Almost we can say a woman with a lot of potential, but undifferentiated. Now, let's just check out what Adam says at this particular point right here, right? So, and Adam, right? And Adam said, now Eve here is a type of the church, right? So therefore the connection with the heaven, the connection with Nut is in proper order right here. So she's a type of the church as a bride, right, of Moshiach, as a bride of Christ. Ephesians chapter 5, verses 28 to 32. Remember when Haradi Apollo says that basically he speaks of male and female, and he says, I'm basically speaking of the church, right? This great mystery, the mystery of the church. So even in Genesis, this mystery was concealed, right? Because the Old Testament is the New Testament concealed, and the New Testament is the Old Testament revealed. So here we have Adam saying that this she is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, or Isha, because she was taken out of man. Now, very interesting, another Hebrew terminology that's introduced right here is the H376, and here we have Ish, right? Ish, a man as an individual or a male person. Now, this is a little different type of male from the Zakar Nekebal that we have in Genesis 1 and 26. Make a note of that right there. Now, like we said, you can download this program. This is the Word software, right? You can download this from lojsociety.org, our resource center. Or you can also find maybe a better program, but make sure it goes into these, you know, the Strong's, whether Strong or Strong's Enhanced Greek and Hebrew dictionaries, so one can begin to do their own study. Stay tuned. We'll get more into this in the next part of this. Eve, the creation of woman, and what Adam does not say in this bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh.